Welcome back to the Blue Collar Future podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Robison, and we got our co-host Jessie with us today. We've just been bullshitting forever, waiting to start. And
just two old boys drinking coffee together, you know.
Drinking our coffee. I'm on like my 5th cup, and I feel like I'm all over the place right now. Even though I typically don't get like a reaction from caffeine or coffee. I've noticed if I don't eat in the morning and I just like have a bunch of coffee, I start to get a little like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Maybe not shaky in the hands, but I start to get like, say,
I get like
flighty.
uneasy in my stomach, like I'm nauseous. Yeah. If I drink a lot of coffee and don't eat anything, I'm like, ooh, I need to lay down.
I know it's not recommended to drink a bunch of coffee without eating, but I mean, that's just what happens. And it actually staves off my hunger until it's been 5 cups deep, and then I'm like, yeah, it's probably not a good idea. I don't know.
You might as well get 2 white monsters and call it good.
Yeah. Well, it's probably better than energy drinks, I would guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Whatever. Jesse, what in the heck is up? It is raining. It is like crappy weather. I'm sick of this.
I know. I keep forgetting that we're like still in spring because we've had 80-degree days, multiple days in a row. Dude. And then it's supposed to rain at this time of year.
Dude, it's a joke. It is like we had the mildest winter that I can remember in the last couple of years, and this spring has been like multiple days every week of rain. Whether or not it affects us is another thing, but it's like rain at least once a week. It's no fun.
I know. We're at like the very tail end of our job. Like we'll be done with the break this week, but I feel like every time we get there is when it's like, this job site's been really easy. Like I think we talked about, I've only had a tent, one wall all winter, and now it's like the last 2 weeks. It's like, okay, well, we got to take a day off because it's raining.
Yeah, that's your break I'm on.
I just want to finish.
Yeah. I was wondering about that. It seems like that job has had a lot of stuff going on, just tidying things up there.
Yeah, and we took most of the crew is at Schreiber's back in Logan, so it's only 2 of our older journeymen, me, Jackson, and Kyle. Kyle's an apprentice. Jackson is the lift operator. So we got a really small crew running it now, just finishing things up. Yeah.
Well, that's going to be fun tomorrow. We may not pour tomorrow because it's going to be rainy. I'm not sure. I would like to pour, but that is not a for sure thing right now. So
I'm at the point of like, do I, zip some plastic into the wall and make a tent? Like I don't.
Dude, yeah. We talked about scheduling last episode because of the question. That's a part that's really hard for us in the scheduling because we, like, short of building tents, which I see people do to get jobs done, like that's a pain in the butt. We don't want to do that. Like that's a gigantic pain.
I can't. Yeah, a whole slab.
Ah, dude, I've seen people do it, and I'm like,
that's
really?
Crazy.
That's so much extra work just to get a job done. I mean, obviously, if you need to make money.
But by the time you hang a tent that big, it's gonna it's probably gonna stop raining.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for what, right? Like you could take a day off. Most of the time, it's not here. It's not gonna rain constant for weeks on end. Most of the time, we lose like a day or so, and most of the time there's windows big enough that we can make pours, but like I'm doing the scheduling this week, which is interesting because the boss man's out of town, so I'm doing the scheduling and ordering and stuff, and I'm glad that I wake up early because I've got to wake up early enough to call off mud or to make decisions and whatnot, and usually that's like 4:30 for us. It's gonna be interesting. So we're shooting for pouring every day, but rain will dictate.
What happens if you pour and then it rains? Do you just cover it? Do you cover it with something, or
then you are screwed? It's like one of those things that sometimes is a really big problem, sometimes it's not as big of a problem. Like we don't take chances if it's exterior work because water on the surface of your concrete before it's cured, like if it gets worked in or anything, will damage the surface and then makes the surface really weak, and here it'll end up falling apart. So we don't really take risks on exterior stuff. Interior stuff is different because it doesn't affect it as much, but it also can't take rain constantly. So if it's exterior stuff we happen to get rain on and it's for a few minutes and we can let it dry before we have to do anything with it, then it's
Mm.
fine. But after a few minutes of getting rained on, we're like, all right, we probably ought to get plastic out and cover. But if it's like a basement or a garage or something, like a lot of times you don't have enough plastic to do that. And if it was a basement, like
Yeah.
a set in the ground
Or a
basement,
funnel. Yeah.
you're not really doing anything with that. You're sitting there till it's done, pretty much, until all the water's evaporated. So that's a hard one. I mean, you can't really cover something like that, I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So
Hmm.
garages are typically not as hard because the water will run off and you can
Mm.
cover it a little easier. The basements are usually the hardest only because of the fact that you can't really cover it. It's water's going to get down there anyways, so you're just screwed. But it also doesn't matter quite as much because it's all getting covered up
Mm.
with stuff. But you don't want that either because, like, say the surface gets screwed on a basement because it just got pounded with rain and stuff. Like, there's people that have done that that'll end up having like silica dust come up through their
Oh,
carpet and
yeah.
stuff because the finish was so crappy. So long story short is we don't really like to take risks with the rain, but there's, depending on the situation, there's stuff we have to do. And if you're a concrete guy and you don't take risks, you are not in business typically. So you have to
Yeah.
do it, and there's like, depending on situation, there's
Yeah.
just, you can cover it sometimes, can't other times, can't overwork water into it. It's pain.
I'm a big fan of when you call the day off and then the sun comes out. I like
Dude,
that one.
we
I like
have
that
done
one.
that a bunch.
I just make sure that I just keep driving. I'm like, no, no.
Well, the other day I was tempted to convince like us to not pour because I was like,
Hmm.
oh, we were just gonna get freaking pounded with rain. It didn't rain
Yeah.
on us at all.
Yeah.
The storm was like on the radar, what we could see. It was like hanging around us for a
Yeah. You could
couple
see it like
hours.
out to
Yeah.
the east or to the west, I mean.
Yeah, you can see it, but you can also go look on the Weather Channel and like look at where the forecast is, and it's just like swirling around where we're working. And I'm like, I feel like we're gonna get rained on, and we didn't even get rained on at all. So it's like, how do you make a decision? They don't freaking know. Nobody
Yeah.
knows. It's all guesswork.
And if you order it, you're screwed because you got to pay for it.
Hey, yeah,
I get that. What are we really talking about today,
dude,
dog?
we are talking about, dude, are are the trades getting softer, or is everybody just getting smarter and running smarter? Right?
A little both.
Are all of our guys getting too soft, or is it just getting easier because we're more efficient? And there's a few things there. I mean, start us off with that. This was your idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's both arguments on either side. Like I think there's a lot more equipment and a lot more things to make things easier on us and our crews, but I also think there's a lot less ability to deal with discomfort with, like even me compared to my dad's generation or the generation like me compared to the next generation coming up. I feel like that level of like dealing with discomfort is different. And it's probably just because like we've had everything. Like it's me and you grew up with like this wasn't a thing when we grew up.
Yeah.
But now it's like if I want something I can stream it. If I want food, I can door like I you can get everything immediately, right? So of course they have a different level of like ability to deal with discomfort than like grandpa did, who was like, I might get a letter in 5 days. I don't know. You know,
All you
like
got to do is look at those iron workers that used to build those skyscrapers walking across the beams
yeah,
with no tie offs or anything like that.
nothing and no fear, bro. Just
No,
like
none.
unlike, thank goodness that we don't do stuff like that anymore, because like back I think it was New York was like for every $1 million spent in New York, someone died working there. Which like
Yeah, it's
look at New York and like
terrible.
think about how much money was spent there. Like that's or like the mines or gold mining and stuff like that. Like it was just you know they didn't have the safety and stuff that we have anymore, and so that was survival.
Yeah.
Versus now there's so many options to do things like like you don't want to deal with this, you could go like go work at Amazon. You can go work at a lot of places that pay a decent like base wage if you really don't want to deal with anything. Obviously, I'm still going to say like the skilled worker makes more money or things like that, but I think yeah, I think the trades are getting a little more efficient than they've ever been, and I think that we're making things easier, which makes it more attractive. And I'm all for the equipment making it easier on people's bodies. Like I've had the exoskeleton, I've had I make people use the forklift or the telehandler instead of trying to carry stuff, or like you do, everything's, you can convince your boss everything's a two-man job, like we talked about earlier, you know, like, and that could go both ways. But like, I'm all for, making it so that when we all make it to 50 or 60, we don't look like those guys from my dad and grandpa's generation. They're like,
Yeah.
can't stand up straight. And like back in my day, we could carry a whole freaking band of bricks with you just stuck rebar through the holes and carried 100 at a time. And I was like, yeah. And now look at you, dude. So like, I'm glad that we don't do that stuff anymore. But there's also like the other side of it where like people, they don't want to like just be, work hard all day or like all that sort of like you run into that too with certain people. And so like I think there's give and take on both sides of it, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, the couple of things we talked about right before we started recording is there's a few things here. Like you mentioned, trades are getting more efficient, and we're
Hmm.
getting smaller crews. I think. I mean
Yeah.
that's hard to say because if you go look at road construction or some of these other commercial jobs, you got like 20 guys standing around watching, like doing nothing. So I don't know, but
Yeah.
I do see the crews are kind of getting smaller as we've got more technology to kind of help with the efficiency, but
Hmm.
also standards are getting really high. And like, how do you balance between like keeping those standards high? Like, because if you loosen them, people start to slip through, make more mistakes, work gets
Hmm.
crappier. But if you tighten up too much on those standards, guys kind of like don't like being reprimanded about things being wrong nowadays because everybody's got to be right and everybody got a trophy for participation growing up and all that shit. So it's like
Yeah.
there's a fine line that we're walking here where sometimes people just need to be yelled at a little bit or be stern with like, hey,
Yeah.
this is we need to get this done, this isn't good enough. But also in a lot of cases it doesn't matter either. So I mean there's a few things to go off of. I mean, what is the line?
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, because it's like you said, people are growing up differently, and I don't know if you're a basketball guy at all or not, but like I watched, it just came out. Shannon Sharp has his podcast, and he had Michael Beasley on, and Michael Beasley's a dude that like, he was talking about, how kids are being raised now, and they're like, you're not afraid of your parents, so then you go outside, you're not afraid of your coach, and you're not afraid of officers or like that sort of stuff. Like, and he's using the word afraid for respect. So it's like you get people that are raised this different way, and like they're not afraid or like they don't respect their parents. So when they come to work, why would they be afraid or respect the foreman or the boss or the superintendent? So and then it's like, that hits you in the face if you're a certain person. So it's like, and um because it's like you said, sometimes like it's like the only way you can get through is to like, dude, you've pushed that person to that breaking point, that person that's supposed to be leading you to of like, you don't want to respect them. And then, yeah, they're going to yell. And then you want to get mad that they yelled. It's like, well, you know, like I think we were talking about this earlier, is like, I just expect everybody that's over 18 to be a grown adult. And it's, it's just, sometimes it's not that way with a lot of people because they weren't raised the same as you or I, or the way that our parents were raised, or the generation between, me and my dad, or you and your dad. And like, I'm not saying that our dad's showing up on Friday and flipping out and doing that stuff and like taking someone's head off is the way to do it. But like, there's also give and take. Like, we've been dealing with that. Like I said, is I feel like maybe I kind of failed some guys that got let go. Like they got let go, quit. But like, I feel like I failed them because I was loud. It's like, oh, you showed up 5 minutes late. Screw it. Like, as long as we get everything done, or like, breaks a little long. Screw it. But then it's that all kind of snowball effects into the quality of work, or what we're doing during the day. It's like, you don't stay busy during the day, you go hide in the bathroom, or like, oh well, I'm done with my section, so I'm just going to stand here and like fiddle with my phone instead of trying to get ahead and like stuff like that. And it's like, but I want to get paid the most. And I feel like I said, I expected those two dudes to be, or not even those two in particular, but like anybody, I expect them to be a grown adult because you're on a construction site and you're over 18 and like all this sort of stuff. But like I should also, as their leader, be the one that's calling that out and not allowing that to continue to happen. And then so it all culminates into this thing where like the boss or my dad is there and he flips out because he's the old school way and he's like, to him it's a slap in the face. And you just there's this line that you felt like I want to be, I want everybody to enjoy their time at work. I want everybody to have fun at work. I want everybody to be passionate about it. And it's like, how do you do that without like ruining their day, when something goes wrong or like when we're not getting enough units in the wall and it's like, you know, you could be nice about it so long and then it's like, hey, we're not producing, so it's like either the company fails or you get your shit together. So it's there's that, like you said, there's just a fine line to walk between like being nice and getting shit done. Or it's hard to walk that line.
Yeah, I mean, something I have written down here is it the being on time that matters, or is it like the overall productivity? Because like I liked what you
Yeah.
said about is like how people showing up late bleeds into the rest of the job, because usually it does. If someone's showing up late, a lot of times it's because they woke up late. A lot of times they're not prepared for the day, and so they're not really on the ball. They're not really with it. They maybe
Hmm.
have to be like told to keep up on things, and they probably don't like being told to keep up on things. So that kind of leads them to be like, all right, well, screw this, I'm done. If
Yeah.
you are being strict with them. And if you're not being strict with them, well, maybe you have someone that's just a warm body that's just there. But is that helping anybody either? Not really, because it's bringing down the standard of the entire crew. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it begs the question, is it more important to be on time or on the ball? If you have someone
Hmm.
that's late, like 5, 10 minutes late, but they're really good on top of things all day. They work hard. I mean, is that fine, or is it being late in general that's a problem? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, where do you draw the line at?
Yeah, and that's like I grew up. It was a respect thing. Like because it affects the dudes around you, and like to me, I was a lot of my career. I've been the youngest dude on site or like on our crew, and now it's not that case as I've gotten older. But it's
Yeah.
like I was always raised that it's a respect thing. Like I show up on time because I respect not just the boss's time or like that he's paying me, but I respect the journeyman ahead of me because they did it or like
Mm,
they're here. They're early drinking their coffee or doing whatever. So it's like I got to get there early, and I was getting mud or getting the job site going, and like that's just it's where I came from, and so it's weird. Like it goes back to the thing of like I expect people to just like, hey, dude, you're 18 on a
do it.
construction site,
Yeah, you
be
expect
an
people to
adult.
be on
Like
top of it.
this to me, like getting to work on time is the easiest part of the day. Like that's the easiest task we have to do, and so it blows my mind that people struggle with that. It's like, bro, like if you're 5 minutes late every day, set your alarm clock 10 minutes earlier. Or like,
Yeah,
well, like I looked at my map and it said it took 30 minutes to get here, so I left 30 minutes ago. It's like, well, what if something happens? Like,
yeah,
maybe that's just the way you and I are, is like I'm going to give myself a buffer and I'm going to take my time to get to work, and I'm not going to try to do any of that stuff. But people, like people aren't that way, and it's like, do you like say that guy that's that way is like, oh well, he shows up 5 minutes late every day, but he lays more brick than anybody else. It's like, do you take that dude's head off, or do you have to dance that line of like whatever? And it's as I'm getting deeper into my career, being the foreman and running the crew, I feel like it doesn't matter what that dude produces, because if you allow him to be late, then the guy that doesn't produce looks and goes, well, you allow so and so to do it, so I'm going to do it. And then the older
yeah.
journeyman, it goes back to the respect thing. They're like, well, he's getting paid this amount of money and he's doing that and like all the stuff that we had to do to earn that amount of money, and he's just allowed to like piss off.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't know though, as I get deeper into it, I feel like every once in a while, don't get me wrong, like I've slept in. I've I've woke up and looked out and be like, holy shit, it's light outside. I gotta go. No, and that's an every once in a while thing, or like stuff happens and you got to take the day off, or you got to leave early, or like little things like that. But it's you just I don't know. I'm learning more that like as much as I want to be everybody's friend and like do this sort of stuff and not be the foreman that's like the veins in my head all day and I'm stressed out and all that sort of stuff. It's like I can't allow things to keep sliding that way, or else we're just going to lose the whole plot and it's going to go off the cliff. It's just I don't know. It's like you got to keep a certain standard, and it's like it doesn't matter who it is. Like it's almost that behavior is toxic no matter who it is doing it. Like it could be the dude that lays twice as much brick as anybody else, but it's like if he's doing it, then it trickles down. It's like I just said, it's toxic, and it creates a bad environment. And then what's more important to you, that he's laying 1,000 or that the whole crew's all bought in together because everybody respects everybody's fucking time.
Yeah, you can't just pick and choose who you get mad at things about. I mean, you can't get upset with somebody that's late every day that doesn't produce when you don't
Mm.
do the same for the other person, and you can't get mad at somebody that's on their phone all the time when everybody's on their phone, but they're just extra bad because they seem to be on their phone more, because all they're going to be do is be like, well, everybody else is on their phone. I
Yeah.
think there is a little bit of a line to dance there, because yeah, I mean, like I was the same way. I had slept in, I've done all that stuff, and I still am late every once in a while.
Hmm.
And the way I'm looking at it, a lot of times is like if you're over 5 minutes late, it becomes an issue. But also, the people who are in charge, like foreman, boss, whatever, they're going to notice and also pay accordingly. So like
Hmm.
I think a lot of times that comes down to bonus structure, and you could tell your guys, if you're late, you don't get a bonus this week. If you're late, you may, I don't know if I'd say penalize, you just don't get a reward, and that might work for some guys. Um,
Hmm.
but you also, I mean, you have to be fair with everybody, right? So if you're going to get mad at one person for being late, you have to get mad at everybody for being late. This is a standard that everybody needs to live by. I think
Yeah.
a lot of times it comes down to making sure your guys have responsibilities and they're bought in, because a lot of times, like if they know they need to be on top of something, they're going to show up thinking about it and ready for it. That's kind
Hmm.
of what happened with me, is like the more responsibility I got when I started driving work trucks with tools in them, like I can't be late if I've
Yeah.
got all of the stuff. Like that's not going to work. And I was pretty much never late again as long as I had all of the stuff with me. So like you start giving everybody responsibilities, and then also holding people to those standards. I think it'll kind of trickle out, and every time there's someone that's late, just kind of, that's an accident, it's not a big deal. But if someone is late all the time, it's a major issue because it's not up to the standard of the rest of the company.
Yeah, and it's not like I guess it's not necessarily the little thing of like being late, but
Just in general, everything.
it's just in general, yeah. Because then like if you're late and then like you've got you clock in late, then so and so standing around every once in a while, or like those two dudes are making a two-person job out of a one-person job because that's inefficient, or like so and so's hiding in the bathroom playing freaking Pokemon Go because he's a child, or like and then like that guy's not getting the mud out on time because he was doing this over here, kind of dicking around. And like by themselves, those things don't like kill you, but altogether that'll ruin, like that loses the job site. So and
Yeah.
that loses all your profit and everything else. And then it's just yeah, it's what, death by 1,000 cuts or whatever it is, at that point.
Yeah. I think it's hard, especially because a lot of everybody struggles with this, but a lot of companies deal with it by having a bunch of people working for
Hmm.
them. Like
Yeah.
the bigger your crew is, the easier it is for people to show up late and not be on top of it, because there's other people that are going to kind of
Hmm.
pull the job along and make sure everything's on top of it. But if you have a crew of like a couple guys, you can't have that because everybody has a big responsibility. So as things are getting more efficient and smaller crews are necessary, I mean, I think that's another thing. When we've had smaller crews, it really matters that everybody is on time. Right now, I feel like we have enough guys that people can be late. Like,
Hmm.
it almost seems like somebody is late every day, which a couple minutes late at least. Like somebody's just not quite there right on time every single day, but it really doesn't matter that much. And then the accidents happen sometimes once a week, sometimes once every other week, or once a month, where someone like major sleeps in, and it's not as big of a deal for us because we
Yeah.
have the guys. But it has been in the past for us, where
Hmm.
not only do we not have as many people, it's a major stress, and then it is actually like leads to blowing your top because freaking pissed because you screwed us because you couldn't set your alarm to the right time or whatever, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, there's nobody like when on a smaller crew, there's not enough bodies to absorb like like the impact of that mistake. Like,
Mm.
so it's like I rely on so and so to get here and get, everything warmed up, and I rely on me to get there and run this, and I rely on so and so to do that part. And it's like if you're a small crew, it's like what do I pull him off of being productive and putting brick in the wall to throw mud? And like I get it, that's part of the machine, like that's another cog in the machine, but like we already had that cog in place and decided to show up an hour late because it's a child and like or just whatever it may be. And I don't know, it's yeah, it's but if you have a huge crew, like imagine your IMS that has 600 employees, it's like they probably don't even care as long as their minimum amount of block gets laid that day. They don't like we've helped them, it's
Yeah.
I've been there and they're like, just lay that wall over there. I'm like, well, what do I do after that? And they're like, just wait for grout. I'm like, well, we're getting that wall done at 10 and grout's not until 1. They're
Yeah.
like, that's cool. I'm like, that was back a while ago when we were working in Rigby, and I'm like, this is crazy. But like, because like we could never do that as a crew. It's like, no, we gotta, someone's got to be doing something else and doing this and
Hmm.
that. And I don't know. I make fun of this stuff of like, oh, the old dude that's like, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean. But like, bro, there's if you're on site, there's something to do. Like
Yeah.
I can guarantee it. And if there's not, it's like, do I just send you home?
Yeah.
Like, hey, if you
Right.
don't want to do anything, go. Like I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just it's hard. Like that line is just getting harder and harder to like
Hmm.
tiptoe of like, do you allow this to happen or do you send him home or like do you
Yeah.
do that like because then you run into the other problem is if you send that guy home, like we still have a deadline. Like we
Yeah.
still we still need those guys that produce, but it's like, is that worth the morale issue that comes with allowing that dude to mess around all the time?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a hard one for sure. If you're too strict, guys are feeling like they can't do their job, like you're micromanaging or something,
Yeah,
or they're not bought in anymore. They feel like they can't do anything right. But if you're too loose, people definitely. I mean, you give an inch, they'll take a freaking mile. Like playing
exactly.
Pokemon Go,
Yeah.
jacking off in the shitter or something. People will do it.
Yeah.
But actually, that may be a product of being too strict, so they find ways to do that type of stuff hidden. You never
Yeah.
know. Anyways,
Yeah, there's give and take on that for sure.
either way, I feel like either way, there's too much. If you're too strict with it, you're babysitting everybody too much and micromanaging. But if you're too loose, then you have to. Like, you have to
Hmm.
tell everybody what to do all the time. I think lately we've gotten to a point. It's kind of weird with us because sometimes we do get to a point where there's nothing to do when we're on a job. So, for example, we're making a pour and our job's ready for tomorrow. Our pour's ready for tomorrow. We're just waiting for concrete to set up so we can finish whatever. There's times where we can sit around, and I think that almost makes it worse because it's hard to find that line between for guys to realize I need to go look around for something to do, or we can just sit on our phones for a while and wait for the mud to set up. Like,
Hmm.
there's for us it's kind of weird because most of the time we are on top of things and we get pretty efficient and we have I think a good balance between like a small crew and a big crew because there's only day to day what like 5 or 6 of us I guess or 7
Yeah.
depends on what's going on. Most of the time we are pretty on top of things, but that leads us to being a little bit lackadaisical about stuff and then we can get into trouble and you don't want to like
Yeah.
be lazy and have guys sitting around on their phones and nobody paying attention just because there's nothing to do. And all of a sudden be like, frick, we're about to get screwed. This concrete's hard. We're going to scrub our asses off for the next hour
Yeah.
to finish this. Like, it's kind of a funny problem. It's like,
Hmm.
what do you do? I think we have it right now pretty good. But again, it almost is making everybody a little bit softer. Because I've been on a small crew. We've been a small crew before where we do not stop moving like all day.
Yeah.
Like there's not enough guys to all of a sudden just sit around and wait. So
Hmm.
I don't know. For us, it's weird.
Yeah. I almost like that better. Like we've talked about how like because I would do side jobs and some of them are big enough that I can bring some of the guys with, and like if I
Yeah.
bring if I bring four dudes with me, I just expect whatever person's available to do the thing does it. Like I don't.
Yeah.
You're not a bricklayer. I'm not the foreman. You're not a hod tender. Like it's whoever's there. Like, hey, dude, you finish first, and you can go shovel mud. Do it. Like I'm trying to go home today. Like I want this done. You know. So it's like that sort of stuff, and it's almost nice to have that. But then it's like on a crew, you have your dedicated old head. You know, the old journeyman. Like if I saw Troy doing that, and Troy's 60, I'd be like, hey, dude, if I catch any of you letting Troy throw his own mud out, I'm throwing you off the scaffold. Like that dude, all he needs to do is let him, he's earned it. And it's, or, just certain things like that. And I almost prefer the micro crew, if you will, like the side job crew of just like everybody gets it. And like, I don't know, maybe instill that into like, hey, if you see a need, fill a need. Like that's, whatever you got to do to like stay busy. And like, if so and so's busy making cuts, like the hottie's busy making cuts, and you need mud, just go get it. Like
Yeah.
don't just stand there and wait. Or like, hey, we're all stocking out, but you're a young apprentice or mason. It's like get up there and help them stock out. Like it's
Mm.
as the form. Like you don't see me stand around doing nothing. Like that's I will do everything from sweeping the floor to laying the block to sitting in a meeting. Like that's just
Mm.
I try to set that example of like you can't turn that against me.
Yeah.
Like that's I don't that whole like it's not my job thing. I
Yeah.
just don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just because you're not being told to go do something like that, I
Yeah.
I think most guys will see somebody doing busy work because there's not much to do and then realize that they should start kind of finding something to do or stepping in to help other people when there's nothing to do for them, and then they'll kind of like also step in and do it. So there's an aspect of that is leading by example, and um, making sure that everybody kind of knows the general. I mean, this goes back to communication, like we always talk about, but
Yeah.
making sure everybody knows like a general plan, maybe even for the day or the next couple days. Hey, this is all the stuff we need to get done, so that there's never any question on
Hmm.
what needs to happen. For us, that's I feel like helps is, and it's kind of hard for us to tell everybody too many things like this is what we're doing, for the next week, because sometimes things fall through and we've got to change plans, and so it doesn't really like help anybody
Hmm.
sometimes. But we can have a general idea, and if we're in a place where we're working on a couple different jobs that are within the same subdivision, we'll say for the same builder, you know,
Hmm.
and we all know we need to go work on something else, most of the time the guys will be like, do we need to go, do something over there? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if we've got some time, yeah, we can go over there and do stuff. And so they'll be on top of it on their own because we're used to it.
Yeah.
They know what
Yeah.
needs to be done. We're not really doing much. Say we like the other day we poured out. We're waiting for the mud to set up, and everybody was trying to find something to do. And they're like, "Can we go get a start on that job over there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're just
Hmm.
waiting." So it kind of is a, when you're holding everybody to a higher standard, and then you have a small enough crew that everybody's like used to doing whatever needs to be done, rather than I'm gonna lay this block or I'm gonna form this for concrete or whatever. Like that's all
Hmm.
I'm doing. It makes it easier for people to see what needs to happen instead. So I don't know. That's some things that help for us at least.
Yeah. That's what I guess I get stuck on the thing of like, I don't know, I don't feel like I should tell you that you need to clean if you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, you threw all that shit on the ground, pick it up. Like that's not someone else's job. I mean, there's a person, there's a laborer or something that's hey, you're in your stripes, you're cleaning up and stuff. It's like, but if you're not doing anything, fuck, like I shouldn't have to tell you. And I'm pretty good about like in the morning I send a text of like these are the tasks we're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't feel like I need to include cleaning in there, but like that should just be a
Yeah.
given. But then some people are like, well, you didn't tell me to do that, and it's like, just I don't know. It's kind of the same concept of like, when the boss shows up and people are all like, "Yo, the boss is here," and they all panic. I'm like, you don't think he can tell that you weren't doing anything? Like, he knows that you are now running around like an idiot because he showed up, versus the
Right.
dude that's like, "I've been working all day. I'm not going to change my pace." It's just like I don't feel like you should, as an adult, I don't feel like you should have someone up your ass, but some people do. Like I just, yeah.
Well, and that goes back to what we've talked about before about like who's what do you do with certain guys? Because some guys want to just show up and do a job and that's it, and they don't ever want to progress. So there is an aspect of that where if you're holding everybody to a higher standard to jump in and do whatever needs to be done, some people aren't gonna live up to it, and maybe they just aren't a good fit for your company.
Hmm.
Because if there's somebody that wants to just kind of blend in and do their one little menial job and kind of just yeah have sit around time and bullshit in time, they probably can work somewhere else for a bigger company like whoever you just mentioned a
Yeah.
few minutes ago, where they probably can just do their little job and then sit there and wait until somebody else tells them to do something else. So
Yeah.
it's it's hard to say, but every company has those guys where you have the guys that are really on top of things and you have the guys that kind of just do the bare minimum. The best way I see it though is a lot of times those guys that do the bare minimum will be at a consistent pace, and they'll also step in and do other things as long as
Mm.
everybody is in that frame. So if you
Yeah.
have a higher standard set, these guys that are just kind of here, they're just
Hmm.
warm bodies, we'll say, they will stay busy, step in and step up, I guess. Maybe not to the level that you might want, but better than if you don't have the high standards. So uh, maybe it does help a little bit to be on people
Yeah.
more often. It's hard to say
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, and maybe the solution is in, like we've talked about, and everything is like being consistent and
Yeah,
like across the board, like because it's yeah, if the dude that I look up to is holding that standard, then I'm going to hold that standard, or like
yeah,
even if you're that middle of the ground player, it's like, well, that dude's doing it, so I better help him because otherwise, then I just look or feel stupid because like you know I'm
yeah,
standing here while they're all working around me. Unless
yeah.
you're on a road crew, then that's different.
Dude, I'm telling you, road crews have something wrong going on. I swear. Like
There's
I'm
got to
not.
be something that I don't see.
Dude, I'm not sure I've ever driven by and seen more than 25% of the people doing anything. Most of the
Yeah,
time, people are standing there with a rake, and that's it. It's crazy.
yeah.
Like, you got the guy running the equipment, and you got the flaggers, people running the stop signs. This is like the only people doing anything. It's crazy. Yeah, whatever.
But
Anyways.
yeah, I mean, I feel like we've spent the last 40 minutes complaining. At least I have, and so it's like, what's the solution here to like we don't want this to keep happening, and it's like, what do you going forward? It's like, how do I personally, how do I not allow what happened in the like to get to a point where those guys, that's a combined fire quit sort of situation. It's like, okay, I don't want that to go around. And I guess, like I said, it's you be consistent.
Yeah.
And like you were saying earlier, is maybe like a one-off thing's going to happen. But if it
Yeah.
becomes a pattern, you got to call it
Mm-hmm.
out and like make sure everyone's aware. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not saying like sit the bad kid in front of the class and tell everybody how bad he is, but like, hey, we don't allow so and so to do that. So like, don't expect that you can do that either, sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Or and on the same side of that, or the other side of that coin is like maybe be consistent in not maybe praise or reward or like, but recognize
Mm-hmm.
when things are being done right all the time. It's like, hey, dude, I really appreciate that you've shown up earlier on time every day, or that you're doing this all the time, and like reward that behavior and recognize it so that like I guess the rest of the crew sees like, oh, like if I don't do this, I'm going to get reprimanded. But if I do this, it is being recognized and respected because, like, so it's like all that effort isn't for naught.
Yeah. I think I think if you're chewing people's head off for a one-off being late accident thing, that doesn't typically work because most of the time people that are super late, it's like an accident, slept in, whatever, they are mad at themselves already. So everybody knows how the feeling when they wake up late and they see and they're like, fuck, like I gotta go, and then they're in a rush to get to
Hmm.
work and like cussing themselves out. If you don't have that problem, then there's probably something wrong with you, I would say.
Hmm.
If you've never woken up late and looked down and been like frick and like ran around and and hustled to
Mm-hmm.
work and been in a bad mood because of it. So people usually don't need to be reprimanded for something like that. I think but if it becomes a consistent problem, it needs to be pointed out. And I
Mm-hmm.
people appreciate that, I think. Like being taken aside and being like, is there something wrong? Like you're showing up, you can't ever show up on time. We kind of need you to show up on time. Like this is what we expect, and
Mm-hmm.
going forward, if we're giving out bonuses, you probably won't be receiving a bonus. Or if like you kind of approach it from that way, most people will realize something needs to happen. I think that's what it is. So until it becomes a real consistent problem, maybe it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
need to be mentioned, but at some point it does, so that everybody knows that it's not okay to continue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I guess recognizing patterns in that sense of like,
Uh-huh.
someone's like, if you're starting to see it, it's like, hey, like this has happened, maybe three, four, 5 times. Like, why don't we come here? Let's talk about this. Like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? What do you need to do? So that it
Yeah.
doesn't become, every day or all that sort of stuff, and then it doesn't trickle downhill like we were talking about earlier. Like, yeah, I guess that's because, like you said, it's if you wake up late and aren't like freaking and like if I'd wake up late and I try to duck around everybody and just like get in my spot on the wall and like act like nothing happened and then like try to catch up, like not even run in and be like, sorry, I'm late, sorry, just like duck my head and try to get in around it. It's like
Yeah.
I think yeah, if you don't have like that level of responsibility with what you have going on, I think there's probably something wrong with you and maybe you don't need to be here. But that's
Or maybe you also, for a penalty, make everybody that is late bring donuts for the whole crew,
yeah, if you're gonna be late, you might as well be late for a reason.
right? If you're already late, you might as well stop and get everybody donuts for freaking everybody over.
Yeah, I've pulled that move before for sure.
Yeah. I think just having everybody know that there is standards to be upheld, and everybody gets into slumps. I've gotten into slumps. We got guys right now that are kind of in a slump of being a few minutes late every day. And the important thing is if it continues for a long period of time, that's not okay. But over even like a week or two, I mean, people kind of just it just kind of happens. I mean, I get up at 4:30 every day, and we don't even need to be at work till 7 most of the time, and somehow I find a way to be 5 minutes late because I'm sitting there doing whatever, working on my computer, making food, I don't know, and I look at the clock and I'm like, son of I gotta go. So I'm like running through my stuff and getting out the door real quick and showing up 5 minutes late because I was just not with it in the morning, I guess.
Hmm.
So I go through slumps like that as well. And I think it's important to know for everybody that it's not like it's a problem if it's continual and
Hmm.
if it bleeds into everything else. Yeah, pattern. Like if you could even take the approach if this was your company where if someone is starting to consistently show up late and it's showing up in their work too, like then you need to say something. Waiting until it shows up in their work, even maybe like after a couple weeks you notice that they're also being super lethargic at work, and it's like, all right, you got to make a change, and then it's like you're affecting everybody else. But over
Hmm.
even over like a week, maybe someone's just got something going on. So and not everybody needs to be blown up at either, and people don't typically like that, especially if they
Yeah.
haven't been reprimanded for being late before, and then they show up and you're like, what? Like this is yeah. So, anyways,
Yeah, I think like the point isn't to make everybody hate being there, but it's also like I don't want you to make me hate being that I'm in charge of you.
yeah,
Like I don't want to micromanage you. You don't want me
yeah,
to micromanage you. Like that's.
yeah. It's not prison.
Yeah. Yeah, thank God. Yeah.
Awesome, dude. I think we got that one pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks for my
yeah,
advice, Sesh.
yeah. Well, this is what this becomes, dude. I'm telling you, this the podcast almost started for me as like a journal.
Yeah.
Almost. It's going to be weird looking back on this in 20 years, being like, I can't believe I did this for so long.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you look back too and you're like, dang, what
Yeah.
the.
It's like men would rather start a podcast than go to therapy is what's going
Yeah.
on right here.
Hey, sometimes, maybe it helps more. You never know. I feel like it's helped me quite a bit.
For
So,
sure. And yeah, like you said, I mean, I'm because you're what,
this
100, what episode are you, what's this, like
is
160?
149.
140, so almost 150.
Yeah.
And it's, you could probably even right now look back at like episode one and be like, why did I feel that way?
Oh,
Like
dude,
what,
right. I
So that's
felt
yeah,
very
that's cool.
strongly about things in the past that I've made episodes on that right now I'm like, okay, I still feel that way, but maybe not as like intensely. Like I can't believe I was that focused on something at that point. So
Yeah.
just evolve. But
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So if you guys like this episode, share it with a friend who you think will get something out of it. Maybe we can get people that can quit showing up to work late every day by making a positive change in everybody.
Yeah.
Having
Take care of your
everybody,
shit.
yeah, dude, take care of your shit, man. Like we can have conversations and figure it out instead of just getting pissed off at everybody. And next week is Q&A. We'll be posting about that. If you have questions, make sure to look out for our stories or DM one of us. I found questions last
Hmm.
time hidden in DMs I didn't even see. We sometimes see them, sometimes don't. But yeah,
Yeah.
awesome, Jesse. Appreciate you.
That's it, dude. Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Yep, we will see you guys all next week or 2 weeks.